Hi there, everybody. Dave here from HeyUGuys, and for the first time ever, we're on webcam. Woo! This is exciting, and I am joined today by John Lyus,
Hello, bonjour, everyone.
who, if yeah, well, you can see Zehra at the minute, but and then Zehra, yeah.
Hey!
And Zehra is the first female presenter that we've had on the show, and it's about time too. Although we are only 9 episodes in, although we should have, so we did it before double figures, I guess. But yeah, thanks for joining us today. So today we are going to be talking about Star Wars Identities, which is the exhibition. It's at the O2, is that right, Zehra?
Yeah, that's right. It's at the O2 above the bowling place. What do you call it?
The bowling place, what do you call it?
Yeah, that's the one. I can't remember what it's called.
I like
That
it.
is actually the official name, so you should be fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they should call one that. So John and I haven't been there. Zehra did a couple of weeks ago. Zehra, is it worth a visit for Star Wars fans?
It's definitely worth a visit. I mean, I'm not actually a Star Wars fan, and I was just mesmerised straight away. It's just the display more than anything else of all the costumes and the obviously the models. As you got Yoda there, which I actually loved, and you've got the concept art as well, which showed them the characters from the very beginning of the thought process all the way through. And obviously, look, you can see one. I was taken by the gnome one with the red hat.
It looks like a mix between Star Wars and maybe Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's. I think the concept art for me was probably one of the best things, seeing it from going from paper to bringing it to life.
I've not seen those before. Have you seen them, John?
Yeah, those have been kicking around for a while, but not all in one place. So seeing them there, it's really interesting to see what they were going for originally and how they ended up with what they did. When I was at Celebration last year, they had a lot of costumes there, and they had a big focus on the Rogue One stuff, which at the time we hadn't seen before, and it was really interesting to see, how they looked, not just as if you'd see them on an image, but to see how they looked in 3D, to see them full size. And I think, and I'm a big Star Wars fan, and I haven't seen a lot of these, in person close up. So it's exactly the kind of thing that I think I'd be interested in terms of an exhibition, because you have to kind of bring them to life in some way, because there's so much. One of the things about Star Wars is it has this incredibly rich history in terms of the way it looks and in terms of the thought processes that have gone into it and how it's changed. Star Wars fans get really interested in the smaller details. So, but as a person there who hasn't got this connection with the saga, was it still interesting to see such a wide range of costumes?
It was actually, and I was more impressed because of I actually have not seen any of the newer episodes. Don't hate me.
What?
Shut up.
You're fired.
Thank you. But I've obviously when I was younger, I'd seen the first lot of films, and of course you can see the costumes there, and it was just it's kind of nostalgic in a way to see these as well, and they look so much bigger in real life than you'd see them on the screen.
It looks good there, where you can just see the evolution of the stormtroopers and how they've changed over the last, was it 40 years now it's been going?
Which is a scary thought. But also, one of the things about the prequels, there are a lot of people who hate the prequels, and with pretty good reason. One of the things you can't fault it on is design. They got great character design. Some of the stuff they did was just incredible, and it was very different. So it's interesting to see everything all at once, to see how they had a massive hit in '77, and then just to see how they built on that and how they got kind of the Jedi, for example. You can see there that crazy octopus head dude. He's got his Jedi robes on, and I don't know. I think just for for a fan, and also for a kid who has only seen the one that came out last year, 2 years ago, and may not know a lot of the other designs or the other characters. It must be interesting just to sort of capture the imagination, to say this is actually your first step into a bigger world, which I think is what they're looking for.
Yeah, it's also quite educational. You're talking about kids, and they've got obviously it's called Star Wars Identities, so they have video clips which shows you how the characters became who they actually were, what made them who they were. And it's good for kids to see that side of what makes them a person from childhood to adulthood, like their parenthood and the culture that they're in and the friends that they've got around them. So that was actually really good to have that kind of educational thing incorporated into it as well, which again was led by you were looking at Luke and Anakin Skywalker's story, and that's how they've incorporated that into the scientific background of the identities.
That's really interesting. So it's like the human element and the cultural element. Was there something I read in your write-up about the fact that you could have an identity, a Star Wars identity?
Yeah, as well. You're given a wristband when you first go in, and you get to pick out what character you want to be.
Right.
So you could either be what was I chose a Wookiee. Just because I like to be different, and I think I'm quite hairy. Yeah, and you go. There's I think there's 8 or 9 different questions throughout the whole exhibition as you go rounds, and that you have to you give an answer to say what career that you want to do, or I can't remember some of the others, but yeah, that was it. And basically, you're answering all these questions, and it basically merges all that information, all that data together once you come to the end, and then you're asked if you want to join the dark side or not. And then
Did you?
I joined the dark side.
Oh, Zehra.
Good for you.
You can tell you're not a fan of Star Wars.
No.
So do you think, so as a non-fan of Star Wars, or as a sort of non-mega fan like John is, it was still interesting? You still think that people, and do you think people could go there not knowing anything about Star Wars and be really interested about it?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Like I said, I don't really know that much about it. I'm not a fan, but obviously everybody knows just a little bit, and it is really, really interesting.
It's just worth pointing out that it's at the O2 until the 3rd of September this year, so you've got plenty of time to go and see it.
Tell your friends, and yeah, let us know once you've been there if you enjoyed it, and maybe tell us what your identity was and whether you joined the dark side. Thanks, John and Zehra, for joining us on this first ever visual version of the Mouth Off podcast, Vidcast, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Bye!
Bye!
Au revoir.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yeah.
Nice.
Hey,